Thanks for tuning in to Let Fear Bounce. What are we going to be doing here? We're going to be tossing out nuggets of hope. And who the heck am I? My name is Kim Langling, and I will be your host, and I am so glad that you're joining me today. So sit back, relax, grab that cup of coffee, and let's get this show started. Have you ever thought about what will happen to your pet should you no longer be able to care for them or if you pass away? Life Pet Care is the world's first pet care administration company, and they provide do-it-yourself pet estate will kits. Now, these are legal document, folks. They are considered an amendment or a codicil that you add directly to your personal will. You can access this by visiting kimlanglingauthor.com. Scroll down until you see Life Pet Care. Click on that link and you will get 33% off of that do-it-yourself pet estate will kit. Now, folks, it's just $29.99, but if you click that link, you will get 33% off. Let's make sure that our furry loved ones are taken care of if, for whatever reason, we are no longer able to care for them. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Let Fear Bounce. This is Kim Langling, your host, and I am so happy that you are spending just a small part of your day with myself today and my special guest, Karen Kovacs. She is the founder of Your Soul Success. Now, I absolutely love that name, Your Soul Success. I love it. It's an organization dedicated to guiding individuals on their spiritual and grief journey. Karen firmly believes that genuine happiness comes from living in alignment with one's authentic purpose. Now, Karen's own life took an unexpected turn when she faced the devastating loss of her 25-year-old son, Danny. And then she embarked on a quest to find solace and explore various paths for emotional and spiritual restoration. Karen, welcome to Let Fear Bounce. I have been truly looking forward to this conversation.
I am so happy to be here and to help others know a little bit more about what we're doing and ultimately maybe ignite a spark in each and every one to be curious about who they truly are and what their purpose is here on earth. How's that?
Well, that's wonderful. And it's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing because, and I like how you said to find their purpose so they can realize what their purpose is. So, and I had a conversation recently with someone else about this exact topic, the purpose. And most might be living in their purpose, but they don't realize it. Or some have no clue what their purpose is and they feel like they're floundering or just kind of floating, And I know for me personally, it took a long time to figure it out. I had to reach a certain stage in my life and a certain age in my life to realize,
True.
Okay, what's my passion? What am I good at? What do I like to do? And where's my heart at in it all, So when you started Soul Success, give us a little bit of background on how that journey came about and how you came up with the name, Your Soul Success.
Well, I'd have to go back because you did talk about how my son Danny passed away at the age of 25, and that came completely out of the blue and rocked my world to the absolute bottom. I mean, you don't know the depths of where you go until I really believe like losing a child is one of the greatest things that just takes you down. And I thought I was doing pretty well, being strong. At the time, I was an owner, publisher of Local Living magazine, which was a regional-based publication. So I had a lot of people depending on me to get back to work, make sure that the wheel kept going. And I did that and then knew that I needed something more. So it was a little bit of, do I go to counseling? Do I go find a support group? Finding something that was going to help me get through that. And I did both. So went to counseling, went to a group called Compassionate Friends, which is a worldwide global group, and they're phenomenal. They only deal with parents who have lost children. And after 3 years of doing that, I became a chapter leader myself So I really thought, hey, I'm doing good. Life is, it's a struggle, but I am getting up every day and I'm doing the best that I can. Um, and then, few years later, the struggles start because grief is ongoing. It is a fluid process. When you think you're going to be doing good, you could be out in your car, or a song comes on the radio, something triggers you, and you are right back there where it all started. So that kept going for, many years. And in 2019, I had the opportunity to move to Budapest, Hungary. And at that time, I was thinking, okay, I'm going to go, I'm going to get away from everything, start something fresh and new. And I did, and it was exciting for all of about 4 months, and then COVID happened. And that's when, everybody's locked up. We're all sitting there with nothing to do. We're watching movies 24/7. Everybody's literally going stark raving crazy. And for the first time since my son's passing, I had to sit quietly and deal with the grief. The grief that I thought that I had dealt with for all of those years was literally thrown back in my lap. And I realized that I really just covered it all up. And so for those 2 to 3 years of really during COVID was my self-reflection, my going through the healing process of not only my son's loss, but some of the traumatic things that had happened in my childhood. And it was the peeling back layer after layer after layer that I started seeing patterns in my life that started to come to fruition for me. And that really started my curiosity of what I was doing, what I was all about, what was my purpose here. And I will tell you that when my spark ignited and I really started to get curious about who I was and why I was here and why my son wasn't here, but I still had to carry on and do something. It was at night around 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. And I know this sounds a little crazy, but I would awaken with thoughts in my head that I immediately would have to get out of bed and go and to my laptop and start writing things down. And when I tell you, I was a publisher of a magazine, but I never liked to write. But things were flying out of me and onto my laptop like never before. And the first thing that came to me was your soul success. And I went and I wrote it down. I didn't even understand what and what it was even going to be. And then each day, each week, another piece of the puzzle just started coming to me. And here we are now. And again, the puzzle's not completely finished. I have a greater vision for this, but as each week goes, another piece to the puzzle comes, and I like where I'm going so far.
What an amazing journey. And I take notes as my guests chat with me. And you threw out some interesting things there, I think, that I consider nuggets. Now, first off, during COVID, you said you had all this time, all of a sudden you found yourself having this time that you were sitting quietly with your thoughts, and you had to deal with things that you thought you had dealt with, and they all just kind of came out at you. I've heard that so many times, and that's what, with COVID, I'm not downplaying how COVID affected so many people's lives and ended so many people's lives. I'm not downplaying that at all. But I've also heard so many times from folks that COVID has actually opened up things,
Yes,
for them personally, or opened up doors that they never considered walking through or even peeking
yes.
into before. So there's a lot of positive that came out of it as well. And I'm a person who I prefer to look at the positive.
I'm a half glass full kind of girl.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm happy that you had that time to look into yourself and to possibly feel what maybe you were stuffing down for so long you didn't even realize it. I'm someone who lives with PTSD. So a lot of stuff that you're talking about resonates very well with me. Then you said 3 and 4 o'clock a.m. I'm awake with all these thoughts in my, and I was sitting
I
here
know.
and I'm going in my head, oh, me too, sweetie. I've been there too. I've been there too.
Yes,
We're soul sisters.
it is. And you're wide awake and you don't understand why you're wide awake. And just there are things that need to be written down. And I mean, that's what it was for me. It was crazy.
Those
But
those quiet, those quiet dark hours, that's what I call
mhm,
them. Those quiet dark hours are either for me filled with demons or filled with profound thought.
yes.
Whichever one it may be, it gives you something to chew on, and it always gives me something to write about.
I want to go back to what you said about COVID, because for me, when I was in COVID, during the whole process, it was one of the darkest days that I had, just not even days, not even months. It was a few years of going through such struggle, such, you have to relive the pain for so many things. But here I am now. I look at those days as the greatest gift that was given to me, because if I hadn't been able to unplug from the world of constantly being on the wheel of turning, constantly going. And I think that's with a lot of us. We don't have the time to just stop and unplug and listen to ourselves. And I really was able to have that time to really get to know who I was, because, we're told who to be from such an early age. We have so many expectations to live up to. Our parents, our grandparents, your spouse, it doesn't matter. People expect certain things from us. And without question, we don't even listen to ourselves. We just start doing it because we're kind of programmed like that from very early on. So COVID was my first attempt at really saying, hey, who are you? And why are you still here and your kid isn't? Why? What makes him, that he had to go, but I'm still here? And when you really start opening up that Pandora's box and looking in to see what's there, it's kind of mind boggling and earth shattering, but it is the greatest feeling, the greatest gift that I have ever been given. And now it's my purpose, my passion in life is to ignite that in others. And again, my journey is not the same as someone else's, and I get that. But my mission is to ignite something in them that they just want to start to stop, to unplug for themselves, and to start listening to what their purpose is. And everyone thinks a purpose is supposed to be this greatest thing. It's something that you have to achieve, and it's going to be 50 years down the line. Sometimes the purpose, the reason why you're here, could be something that you are totally doing right now that you're not giving yourself credit for, that you just think it's, nothing crazy, it's nothing extraordinary. But truly, what you do on something so simple is affecting so many people in a positive way, and you don't even realize it. And that in itself could be your purpose. So it doesn't have to be this, I have to go and start 17 foundations. I don't have to, be the professor of some university. It doesn't have to be that way. It's, you need to take the time to find what makes you happy. And again, it could come down to some very simple things that you're already doing.
And I love that you say that and that you're sharing that, because I think so many people need to hear that more than once, because you do get stuck in that whole, I always think of it as that, you're on that little wheel, like the little gerbil is just running, and there's no end in sight because you're just going to keep going and going. You do lose sight of yourself, what your own dreams and passions were, and what your gifts are, the gifts that you were born with. And I like how you said it doesn't have to be this big lofty thing. It doesn't, you don't have to have 6, 7, 8 zeros on your
Correct.
paycheck. That's, maybe that's someone's goal. But for your purpose, will those zeros fill your purpose, your own personal purpose? Your own purpose, and something that you might be really, really good at is maybe it's just listening.
I was going to say the same thing. Sometimes knowing that you can be the person that someone can come to with their problem, and you sit quietly, hold their hand, and actually listen to them and hear what they're saying, and you take that in and let them feel that they have been heard. That in itself is huge,
That's,
huge.
to me, an incredibly beautiful gift to give someone. The
Yes.
gift of your time, and to just listen. You don't even have to understand what they're going through, and don't pretend that you do, or say, oh, I understand, or, oh, because everybody, like you said earlier, everybody's journey is different, and your journey of what you went through, as a child, and through the loss of your son, that's your personal journey. No one's going to feel exactly how you feel, and
Correct.
see things how you see things. Yeah, I love that, because grief is so heavy. It's so, so very heavy. And I've got a couple friends right now that are going through that process. One has been in it for a while, quite a few years, and the other one is just beginning this journey with the
Yeah.
loss of her husband. And it's so hard for me to watch and to see, because I'm ridiculously empathetic, and I feel their hurt. And a lot of times I don't have words, and I will simply say, I love you. I have no
Hmm.
words, because anything I say, it's not going to make any difference, and it might even sound
Correct.
right. I don't have any words to make you feel better, but I can sit here with you.
I will tell you, for me sharing my message, my journey started because of the grief that I had with my son's loss. However, you can truly have trauma in your life that, again, you start to question and have that curiosity of why I'm here, what is my purpose? Because I really truly believe that regardless of who we are, each and every one of us has had something in their life that has given them a aha moment, as I call it, just why. And they might only touch on it very briefly at that time because maybe they're not ready, the timing is off, but it's the first spark. And maybe the next spark isn't for a few months or a few years down the line, because they are on that hamster wheel. They are too busy to stop and really want to check in with themselves and listen to themselves, because we all know that we have an inner voice. I mean, everybody knows if we stopped, there's a little person inside saying, hey, you shouldn't do that or you should do that, but we never listen to that person. We just keep on going, keep on going. So,
It's drowned out by the world. The world is very noisy.
and it's extremely noisy now because we never can turn it off. Between social media and just life in general, we're so connected, and at the same time we're so disconnected.
I agree. I agree. And
So
it's actually, to me, it's, well, not somewhat, it is. It's scary to watch how it's unfolding, that
yes,
this connectedness, but there's just this massive divide, you
there is.
know, which sounds like it's a contradictory statement, but it's not. Everyone's so connected, but there's a massive divide, and it's a frightening thing, actually. It's a frightening thing. But yeah, the whole hamster wheel thing, and going your own journey and looking at those things, it's not easy. And this, I'm sure it is not
Yes.
easy to look at yourself for who you truly are, or to look back, like you said, back into your childhood and different things. That's a tough thing, because we're also, as humans, I think most of us, really good at stuffing.
Oh yeah.
stuffing
Stuffing,
stuff
stuffing,
down in
stuffing.
there. It's like, no, okay, not going to think about it anymore. Okay, that's done over with. And
And
sometimes
we and we
you've
don't
got to go through that massive storm. You've got to be everybody. There's not a single person on this planet who will not get through life just a bit battered and bruised.
know. And again, that's part of who we are as a whole, that we are human. We all have failures. We all have something that has done horrible things to us. And what your pain is at 100% level may not be mine, but they're equal, because if it affects you at 100%, then if mine affects me at 100%. It doesn't, one's not better than the other. You know what I mean? Your trauma is your trauma, my trauma is my trauma. And if it, is just bringing us down to our true being, then that's all there is. We're not trying to outdo anyone, and no one gets through life without having some trauma in it. You know,
Exactly.
it
Exactly.
is, yeah.
And
So,
I guess it's up. This is just my own personal perspective. Just looking back on my path that I've been on, that's been, really bumpy and filled with potholes and weird turns. Um, I I don't think I could be doing any of what I do now unless I had went through what I went through. I don't think I could impact people the way I do with my own personal story, because I do a lot of public speaking. I'm a veteran advocate. I couldn't do as effectively as I do now if I
yeah.
did not have that journey that I had, you know, and even in the midst of the storm and in the darkness, there is blessings.
Oh, absolutely.
And it's super hard to see when you're in it. And boy, oh boy, do I get that. And I'm sure you do too.
Absolutely.
But
Um,
there are blessings in the storm. And there is, like, I like how you keep saying those sparks of light. There are little sparks within the darkness. You just got to make sure your eyes are and your heart are open enough to see them.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you. And again, one of the reasons I wanted to start Your Soul Success, when things became really clear to me what I really wanted to do with it. And maybe it comes from my marketing background, from having the magazine and everything, but I wanted to put a message out that would resonate to me as a consumer. Just, if it makes me like, okay, that I understand that, then maybe somebody else would have interest in it. Because if you would have asked me 5 years ago about spirituality and about life after death and, you know, spiritual awakenings and anything like that, I would have just told you you're crazy. Like, I never allowed myself to go there. I never thought about, going through and reliving any of my past, traumas to see where and what my purpose was in life. I was on that hamster wheel, as we keep calling it during this show. But when you literally stop and take the time to do that, and so there's a lot of people sending messages out there that are the top gurus, as I say, and they're so spiritually just, the problem is it would go over my head. And I'm educated, but it would just be too deep for me to just connect with. So I just felt like there was a lot of people like me who may be new to all of this, who don't really understand the real depth right now of all of it, and just need someone to just talk to them in real terms and maybe connect with a whole massive audience that never would have been turned on to that type of messaging. But in the end, leads us to the same place, which is finding who we are. Because to me, I think that's the greatest gift that you can give yourself, is to finally figure out that all you have to do in this life is to find out how to make yourself happy and to love yourself. And everything else is like an added bonus.
And when
I
you
mean,
reach that point, when you figure out, well, you mentioned how to love yourself.
mhm.
That is so hard. I think, for the majority of people.
Absolutely.
It's very hard. And I think it also, just saying the words, love yourself, 2 words, I think it also makes people very uncomfortable to hear that.
And there's a lot of people that say they love themselves because they'll say it, but they really don't understand it or mean it. And they're more confident maybe in just putting themselves out there. But trust me, if they fail at something, they go inward, they blame themselves, and that's not, true love of yourself, because you wouldn't know what success was if you hadn't had failures. So those failures are nothing more than life's lessons, and we either learn from them, good, bad, or indifferent, and we move on, or we keep repeating that same pattern over and over and over again. And that's why I tell everybody, if you don't believe what I'm saying to you, just stop for a few minutes and look at what you're doing in your life right now that is not making you happy. And then go back throughout your childhood, your young adult life, okay? And picture different events and times where you were going through the same thing. Were you reacting the exact same way? It's because you're still doing it the same way. You did not learn from that. So you just keep repeating it. And the sad part about it is there are people that will go their entire life with no aha moment. They'll keep repeating the same mistakes over and over and over again, and they just don't learn. Then there's some who literally will get to their deathbed and then have the aha moment, like, oh, I shoulda, coulda, woulda done it so much better, but I don't have time now, but I get it. I get what it's all about. There are people that have cancer at a very young age, and that aha moment has changed the course of their life. There's others like me that it has taken them, I'm 60. So it has taken them most of their life to have that aha moment. But once you have it, I almost feel like it's a gift that's been handed to you, and you need to be able to receive it, enjoy it, and expand upon it and give it back. Give it back, because when you feel good about yourself and you feel positive about yourself and you love yourself, you're throwing that out there to the world, and what you're getting back is even better. So if more of us can do that, we have a much better world.
Oh, I'm sitting here. I know, folks, you can't see, you can only hear, but I'm sitting here kind of like moving around in my seat a lot and just grinning from ear to ear. I love what you're saying, because my mission is the same. I call it tossing nuggets of hope. It's part of the name of my podcast. I have a book by the same name that I'm writing that's going to be released this year. I have a YouTube channel called Nuggets of Hope. I carry little nuggets of hope with me everywhere I go and approach people I don't know and have never met. I just get a very strong feeling, and I'll be like, oh, okay, that person needs a nugget. And I literally approach strangers and just say, I would love to give you a nugget of hope today. And I hope you
And
have a
how
blessed day.
kind is that? I just go around saying, just be kind. Just
Yes,
be kind. If you don't have something nice to say, keep it to yourself.
right.
Just be kind. I mean, what do you have to lose? Just
Nothing. I know.
a smile is worth 1,000 words. Just smile at people. And I'm telling you, the more you open up yourself and you show kindness and a smile and you greet people and you hold the door for people, you get a response from them. They're like happy, and then you connect. And it's that connection that makes you start feeling like, wow. And again, your purpose could be as simple as just connecting on the small things. It doesn't
Right.
have to be that big thing.
I agree. Well, I carry little rocks in my pockets.
And just so you know, compassionate friends, they do that too. So the little nuggets that you have, compassionate friends would have hope or love or, just something like that. And when you went to a meeting, especially if somebody that was their first meeting, they would give that to them and just say, hey, we got you. You know what I mean?
Oh,
Like,
how awesome. I did not know that. How awesome.
yeah. Yeah.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, this was just something that came up to me over the pandemic
Yeah.
during those years where I was up at 3, 4 o'clock in the morning and the word hope would not leave me alone. I heard it, I saw it on billboards, I would read it, I heard it on podcasts and on the
So
radio.
that was your message. That
Yes.
was,
Yes. And I
yes,
said, okay. And I'm a Christian.
gotcha.
I'm a Christian. So I leaned strong into my faith during that time too, because I was having my own struggles, as we all do from time to time.
Yes.
But I was like, okay, I'm supposed to do something with this word, hope. Apparently, I'm supposed to, because it just kept coming. It was everywhere. I could, everywhere. And I'm going, all right, yeah, I see it, I feel it. Now, what am I supposed to do with it? But to find your purpose, and when you do that aha moment, as you mentioned, it changes like intrinsically down in your soul. It changes you, and you begin to see the world in a totally different way. At least for me,
Yes.
I did.
Absolutely.
I saw much more beauty. I've always noticed smaller things and things that others don't typically see, but now I notice it in even more detail. So I'll stop and I'll take a picture of it. Or as soon as I get home, I'm going to write a little story about what I just saw. This caterpillar crawling across a hot sidewalk. I'm just,
And
sometimes I'm in awe and enthralled by it. I'm like, oh, there's a story there. So that's how my brain works. But it's like a light. A light is turned on when
it's like
you
a light is turned on, or you just saw the best movie of your entire life and you want to share it with everybody.
yes.
And sometimes it's met with, like great reviews, and other times people are like, whoa, I don't want
Yes.
to listen, I don't want to hear. And I will tell you, in the beginning of my journey, that kind of really touched me, where I felt, am I on the right path?
Mhm.
If me speaking about my message to others is really having a negative effect, and that even would be with family or friends, am I doing the right thing? And what I have learned is they're on their own journey, I'm on mine. And if they're not ready to hear the message, it's okay. Their timeline could be completely different. Maybe they're not supposed to get it this life. I don't know, but I can only put it out there, and I can only be true to who I am. And it's like what I always say, you can't get everybody to like you. It's
Right.
just, there's too many people in the world. Not everybody's going to like you, and that is okay. At the end of the day, you have to be able to look in the mirror and like yourself. And if you can go to
Exactly.
bed at night and say, I did good today and I like myself, that's then you had a great, great day.
I couldn't agree more. And I'm simply amazed at this entire conversation because pretty much everything you're doing, I'm doing on my own little journey as well. And we've never met.
But here's my thing. I tell people, start to get rid of the things in your life that are negative. So if watching the news makes you anxious, makes you fearful, turn it off. Doesn't mean that you don't need to know, and I'm telling you to put your head in the sand and not know what's going on in the world, but you don't need to be seeing it and hearing it all day long. Because I did that for a long period of time, and it literally was just eating at me. And I saw my mood change to be like, almost angry and just defensive sometimes. And then I said, you know what? I can't change a lot of this stuff, but what I can change is how I react to it. And if I don't want to watch it, I just turn it off. Turn it off. And when you start looking at things in a positive way and looking for the positive instead of the negative stuff, that's where you find beauty in everything. I mean, just start putting yourself out there on a positive note, and more positivity is going to come back. It's the laws of attraction. It's going to happen.
And
What
it,
you
it
put
does.
out comes
It,
back.
it does.
If I'm miserable all day long and I am yelling at people, and that's what I'm going to get back. Those are the people that are going to be surrounding me in my life. But choose positivity. And when you do that, you're going to have people around you that are want to lift you up and support you in everything that you want to do. And my gosh, the world is your oyster at that point. You can feel and do so much when you have your posse literally just saying, hey, great, we're right there with you. Whatever you're doing, we're there to support. I mean, what greatness is that? I mean, that's
I know. Yeah.
everybody's.
And part of your journey very well might be culling your tribe. Your tribe might change. It might get smaller.
Yeah.
And that's okay too.
Yeah.
Not
I'd rather have one true friend that lifted me up than 30 friends that you had a great time, and you went out, but as soon as you walked out the room, everybody was talking about you.
right. Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Oh, I
Again,
know exactly what you mean. I hear you,
yeah.
sister.
And sometimes we have to clean house, and I think sometimes if you stopped and you unplugged, you would know the people in your life that are nothing but drama, the ones that are causing the heartache, and then there are the ones that that you can call at 3 o'clock in the morning and they're just there. No questions asked. There's no drama. They're just there with an open, their open arms ready to support. And when you're ready to take charge and know that the cleaning of the house has to be done, you're going to start changing your life too. Because sometimes we just hold on to friends. We've had them for so long, we don't know what to do without them. But sometimes you need to give distance. And when you give distance, you'll be able to really see, are they worth being in your life? It goes back to people come in your life for a season or a reason. Yeah. And maybe their reason has passed and you were just hanging on. You outgrew them. You need to move on.
Right. And that's just, that's another part of your journey and your growth. You learn through all of it. Hey, wow, we have flown through time. This has been an awesome conversation. But how can folks find you and all the good stuff that you're doing?
So they can log on to our website, yoursoulsuccess.com. They can book a one-on-one session with us. We do retreats globally. And we do all different types of retreats, from grief to women's support to Alcoholics Anonymous groups. So whatever it is, we do them. And we have great facilitators, both in the US and in Europe, that are under the Your Soul Success umbrella. And that is my mission, is to actually get more facilitators around the world, increase more retreats around the world, increase the message.
It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful
Yes.
thing. One person at a time,
And I'm going to steal your nuggets because I think that's great. I think, I would love to be in a grocery store and get a nugget of hope.
It's awesome.
It is awesome. That just to me is inspirational. So,
and it's been I've been doing it for a couple years now, and
yeah,
it's been a journey, and it's been a learning experience for me as well, because you never know what someone else is going through. And I don't stay and ask. I don't ask them even their name. I just give them the little nugget and say, I wish you a blessed day. And I turn and walk away. I don't think I'm supposed to ask them.
Right. And you might be the only person that asked them, not only that day, but maybe for their life, right, that they just never felt like they had anybody that even cared.
Or saw them. That's the big thing.
Yeah.
And that's another thing, that I found, that there's been a couple elderly folks that I've approached, more than a couple, but a couple that stick to my heart, that they seem so surprised that they were even seen. And it broke my heart. I oftentimes will get in my car and cry. Oftentimes just sit in my car and cry, because I just get this overwhelming feeling that just like came from them, and just it's like a visceral feeling, like I feel it slamming me in the chest, slams me in my heart. And there's been numerous times I sit in my car and cry after giving out a nugget of hope. But I also know that that crying part is also a release for me too, because it's all part of my journey and learning, But this has been awesome, Karen. I thank you so much for what you're doing globally, which I think is awesome. I wish you nothing but the best on continued growth of that.
Oh, thank you
and,
so much.
and getting the right people to be part of that tribe. I mean, just golly, one person at a time, and we literally can change the world. Literally can.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
I feel like this is the time now. For some reason, there's more and more people just wanting to know this message that's going out, and we're growing in numbers, and that's a good thing.
Yes, it
So
is. And I agree with you. I think there are people out there desperate for hope and light. We just need to reach them.
yep, and you just need to give them a nugget.
That's right. Just need to keep on tossing out nuggets of hope like confetti. That's what I always say. Toss it out there like confetti, folks.
And
So,
just think what you do could be, when people listen to that, maybe they do the same thing and they're passing that on. And just, I mean, that just in itself is so inspirational.
yeah. And like you said earlier at the beginning of the show, you never know who's going to hear your message and how it's going to impact them.
Absolutely.
You don't know. So I ask all of my guests at the end of the show if you would like to share a nugget of hope that you can toss out to my listeners that they can tuck away in their pocket and carry with them for the day.
Stop and listen. You'll hear such great things, and it'll all be coming from yourself.
Stop and listen.
Mm-hmm.
Powerful. If you let that sink in, folks, let that sink in. It's powerful and it can make a big, big difference. Karen, once again, oh my goodness, thank you so much for being my guest. This has been an absolute
Thanks, Kim.
blessing.
I've had such a great time. I appreciate it.
And we will have to have you on again. We will have to have you on again. I want to keep on hearing about your journey and what you're doing. So let's come back on maybe towards the end of the year or something. I want to see where this path is taking you.
Oh, I would love to. That sounds great. I appreciate it.
Awesome. All right, everybody
All right.
out there, thanks so much for tuning in to another episode of Let Fear Bounce. This is Kim Langling, your host, wishing you all a blessed day. Everybody be well, stay well, and be blessed. That wraps up another episode of Let Fear Bounce, folks. Thanks so much for spending a small part of your day with myself and my special guests. I am blessed week by week by the people that I have on my show. I'm also blessed by you for tuning in and listening. And if you want to learn a little bit more about me, you can go to my website at kimlanglingauthor.com and check out everything else I'm doing. I like to keep myself busy. And until next week, folks, everybody be well, stay well, and be blessed. And don't forget, you are amazing.